We will call to order the special board meeting for the Board of Election Commissioners for the City of Chicago. Good morning. My name is Maricel Hernandez. I'm the chairman. Seated to my left is Commissioner Jonathan T. Swain, and to my right is Commissioner William J. Cressy. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the agenda. Are there any changes at this time? Hearing none, we will proceed with the approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting for June 14, 2016. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The minutes are approved. Next on the agenda is the Executive Director's report. Mr. Goff.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Just to let the board members an update, we had our final meeting with the post office, and we had our envelopes approved, and we're testing them now. So everything for our absentee mailing looks like it's in place.
Right.
So we finally got a response from the post office. They've signed off on everything, and now we're testing. So hopefully we should be able to let you know where we're at. That's one. The other item is that I have to have a budget into the city by Friday of this week. We're working on it right now. As you know, there's only one item going on for next year. We have a special aldermanic election next year. But we're also going to be doing some other items. Hopefully we'll do, as we did back in 2012, our Initiative Chicago, or what do we call it, Mr. Allen?
Voter engagement.
Voter engagement. So we're hoping to have one next year. And so we can talk about new equipment and other items where the our stakeholders have interest in. So we will be working on that. We are also sending out a request for information on voting equipment. After meeting with the county clerk's office, Noah Prates, it was quite intense on the what information we were looking for. We're going to meet with his attorney and our attorney to come up with a one-pager. So let the companies out there show us what they have instead of us requesting. So it's something that just happened today, Mr. Scanlon. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay.
Okay. And just to let you know, we're working on getting our canvas ready from the last election. Records processing is working really hard getting the file cleaned up so we can start doing some NCOAs and what other items we need to complete prior to the November election. But everybody is quite busy. The absentee, as I said, they're working on the ballot, the actual delivery of the ballots and returns. We also are working on what the ballot will look like. We know for sure that there will be 2 ballots. Depending on how big these questions are, you may have to go to a 3rd one. I'm just throwing it out there for the board members. I'm hoping we're not. We're going to do everything we can so we don't go to a 3rd ballot, but it may be a possibility.
Do you have an estimate as to how much we think the aldermanic election will cost?
I don't have that right now.
Okay. Are there any questions?
On the ballots, one of the things hanging out there is the ballot initiative that's in court right now. Do you or council have any estimate that we might have a final word from the courts as to that?
There was a hearing in the Circuit Court of Cook County on June 30th. Rather extensive argument. It was about an hour and a half. Afterwards, the judge indicated that she would rule by July 21. When the parties, suggested that everyone's operating on a deadline because of the certification of the ballot on August 26th, and the likelihood of an appeal by the losing side, she indicated she would do the best that she could. So perhaps it might come sooner by July 21, or it may not be until July 21 when we get a decision from the circuit court. And as the parties indicate, I'm sure it's going to go up on appeal.
Any chance it could go directly to the Supreme Court, or we have to up by the appellate?
It's a possibility, if the court certifies it as a matter of importance. But in the past, the Supreme Court has indicated a reluctance to take the case directly, and they may require the parties to go to the appellate court.
Thank you.
Ms. Bateman?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have nothing additional to add from Mr. Goff's report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Allen?
Same.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have old business. First, we have infrastructure projects and changes in election administration. Mr. Goff, I think you have already touched upon that, our plans for 2016 and 17.
17, correct.
Anything on electronic poll books?
We are just continuing to make changes to it. We anticipate a test in August, an end-to-end test, so yes, we are moving forward.
Okay.
And the, I'm gonna keep raising the question since we've had trouble with it a little bit. The question about the sample or the readout of what turnout is, what do you call it, a quick look or something of that?
The media view.
The media view, thank you. Will that be tested as well?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes, we just in the past couple of days, Jim and I have reviewed their media view, but yes, absolutely, that will be included in the test.
Okay.
Okay. We've already touched upon voting equipment. And Mr. Scanlon, is there anything on legislation?
Not to report at this time, Madam Chairwoman. There are two bills that have gone to the governor. The automatic voter registration bill and the omnibus bill. And we're waiting to see what the governor does with that, with those two bills.
I think he has until sometime in August to
Yes,
sign
correct.
those.
Correct.
Okay. Next on the agenda is new business, and we have a memo regarding changes in boundary, or request for changes in boundaries for precincts 9 and 10 of Ward 17. Mr. Scanlon, would you like to,
I'll discuss this. Okay, just to let you, after meeting with elected officials, we needed to redraw the boundaries in these two precincts. And I gave a map to all three board members. It's a minor change. It is taking one, removing one line at the end of the precinct, and then cutting it down on the 9th precinct. So every time we make a boundary change, the board members have to vote on, and I would like your permission to do this.
and the purpose of the change is the main reason is
What-
with,
One of the reasons is there is a group in the 9th precinct that are disabled veterans, and the polling place that we have in that 9th precinct is Oglesby School. And it's that school, even though by law they should all be accessible, it is not accessible. But the Chicago Police Department polling place where the 10th precinct votes is totally accessible. So the gentleman would only have to go a block to this location, and that's basically why I want to make this change.
are there any questions?
Is that is it a converted school that they, or did something there?
St. Leo's Veterans Center.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what it is.
Okay. So, is any problems with any local initiatives with one precinct or the other?
No, there's no local option, there are no, none that we know of, and we've met with the elected officials in those areas.
I can't think of a better reason to move a boundary than that.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the change in precinct boundaries in precincts 9 and 10 of the 17th ward?
So-
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next on the agenda is a recommendation of awards for RFP for for internal control review of post-election testing of voting equipment, the 5% audit. Laurel?
Yes.
Good morning.
Okay. The Department of Purchasing, as well as the Evaluation Committee, conducted the process. The request for proposal for the internal control review of post-election testing of voting equipment, which is known as the 5% audit, conducted multiple phases. The original proposal submission date was Wednesday, May 25th. Best and final offer due date was Wednesday, June 22nd. The board meeting's award recommendation is today, July 6th. Purchasing issued an RFP seeking a qualified vendor to conduct a review of the procedures that the board uses for the post-election 5% audit. The RFP was advertised on May 6th. The pre-proposal conference took place on May 13th. The proposals were due on May 25th. 15 vendors were sent or mailed copies of the RFP. 4 vendors attended the pre-proposal conference. 3 vendors submitted their proposals out of the 15 vendors that originally had submitted. An evaluation committee of 5 board staff individuals evaluated the 3 firms based off of the criteria that were listed in the RFP. The criteria are as follows: the ability to meet the requirements, technical competence, quality of service and strength, costs, responsiveness of the financial stabilities of the individual firms, compliance with law, ordinances, and statutes, spirit of Chicago MBE WBE expertise, MBE WBE business enterprises, conflict of interest, and any legal actions that might be outstanding. The evaluation committee examined the respondents' proposals based on these criteria in addition to the following phases. Phase 1 was review of the respondents' proposal. Phase 2 was an oral presentation of the proposals. Phase 3 was the best and final offer. Phase 4 is where we are today, recommending the award for BKD LLP. And the 5th would be the phase of the award of contract, should the commissioners decide that this is acceptable. The evaluation committee and I are recommending the most qualified respondent, BKD LLP, for the contract to review the procedures the board uses in its post-election of the 5% audit. BKD's proposal thoroughly detailed their approach of how they would conduct and examine the existing auditing process. BKD identified phases: planning and tailoring, field working, addressing findings and reporting, and issuance of recommendation. These phases met the criteria identified by the board. BKD is knowledgeable and has experience in working with other governmental jurisdictions and private organizations. They're a nationally known firm with a history of working with large jurisdictions of government and Fortune 500 companies. In addition to that, we've identified some of the key clients of their BKDs that we thought would be knowledgeable for all of us. City of Indianapolis, Colorado Water Resource Development and Power Authority, Mississippi Department of Corrections, Mississippi Department of Employment Securities, State of Indiana's Auditor's Office, State of Indiana's Hoosier Lottery, State of Indiana's Bureau of Motor Vehicles, and the state requirement system of the state of Illinois. Those are their government jurisdiction clients. BKD has indicated that their company will dedicate appropriate staff for this review. BKD recognizes and is familiar with the sensitivities of transparency in government. And as stated, we did evaluate. We felt that BKD was the most respondent. All of our respondents did meet, as stated in the proposal, in this presentation, that they were qualified, but overall, BKD scored the highest.
Are there any questions?
Will they be using staff, or do they indicate, they're a fairly new player in the Chicago market, BKD. They've been around for quite a while, mostly, I think originally from Missouri.
Yes.
And will they be using their local office, the local staff, or will they be bringing people in?
They'll
from
be doing
outside?
both. It'll be a combination of both.
And can you give me some sense as to, the original proposed pricing for BKD had 230 billable hours, and the best and final had 109. So can you give us some indication as to why
Sure.
there was that significant change?
As part of the phase evaluation process, phase 3, we invited all 3 respondents that had qualifications to take a look, and we demonstrated a simile of the actual voting process, so they would get an idea of what steps and what phases and what exactly will be requested of them to take place for the evaluation.
Wait, can you go back again, explain, you showed them,
We actually demonstrated a simulated process
okay,
of the actual voting.
of actual
how it's-
voting?
Yes, we
Okay.
had the equipment here, we had staff here showing them the simple process of how we would actually, how we vote, yes.
Wait, that's the question I'm getting, how we vote or how we audit?
How we audit. I'm
How we
sorry,
audit, okay.
vote, Yes,
Okay, so they've seen how we audit,
yes,
at least to this point.
correct.
And so based on that, they believe that they can get the analysis done in almost, in half the time that they proposed.
Correct.
Okay,
And not only them, but they all did, because they realized what they had anticipated was not as much work that needed to be done.
okay,
They overbooked their estimated hours.
got it.
If there are no further questions, is there a motion to enter?
Oh, one other question, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
And by when will the recommendations be made?
Based off of the vote today, if you determine that they are acceptable, we'll notify them this afternoon, and they will come in and sign off on the appropriate paperwork, and we can get them rolling as soon as possible.
And our goal is to have it done by
September 30th.
September 30th.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the contract with BKD LLP to perform an internal control review of post-election testing of voting equipment in an amount not to exceed $25,000, and the term is through September 30th, 2016.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you, Lorraine. Next on the agenda is the attorney contractor agreement, proposed agreement with our general counsel, James Scanlon. And Mr. Scanlon, the terms of this agreement, have they changed in any way from the previous agreement?
Madam Chairwoman, the only change is the term. It would be for a term commencing July 1, 2016, expiring on June 30th, 2017. Those are the only changes to the agreement.
Yes, and your hourly rate has not changed for many, many, many years, $250 per hour for the services you perform.
That's correct.
Mr. Scanlon's services to the board are invaluable, and that's putting it lightly. I would be extremely happy to extend this agreement for another year. Are there any questions, comments? If none, is there a motion to approve the contract between James Scanlon and the Board of Election Commissioners?
So
So,
moved.
Second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Scanlon.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. I appreciate your confidence in me and look forward to another year.
Okay, we have no financial report, and
Not for this meeting.
I have not received any public comment forms, requests for public comment. Is there a need for executive session today?
No.
No, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay. If there is not, then is there a motion to adjourn to our next regularly scheduled board meeting?
Madam Chairman, if I could just interject. Yesterday was a deadline for filing objections to candidates filing nomination papers as independents and as new political party candidates. According to the State Board of Elections website, there were several objections were filed. There was only one objection for which this board would have jurisdiction to hear and decide. And that was an objection filed to a candidate for the office of representative in the General Assembly for the 6th representative district. The candidate is Eric Martin White. So therefore, it will be necessary for the board to convene once again as an electoral board. My suggestion would be that the board meet as an electoral board on Tuesday, July 12th, for the purpose of convening and hearing that objection. If there is a particular time that's convenient for the commissioners on that date, and we can work around that time.
Okay. I'm fine at 9 a.m. on 12th. I don't know how my other commissioners are on that day.
That's fine as well.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn to July 12th at 9 a.m. For the purpose of conducting a regular board meeting as well as an electoral board meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.